Okay.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Dead Man Walking podcast. My name is Repeatedly Dead Fred, author of the memoir, The Summer I Died 20 Times, which is what happened to me. And I was repeatedly dead, so that's how I got the name Repeatedly Dead Fred. Today, I'm doing one of my emerging author interviews with Amanda Moy, which isn't spelt Amanda Moy, but it's pronounced Amanda Moy.
Almost.
Almost. Oh my gosh. Okay. Aman
Ananda
Ananda Moy.
Moy.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
not even pronounced like I spell it. So,
right.
with the last name of Ms. Baker. So, okay,
So my first name is Ananda Moy.
Ananda
Last name
Moy.
is Baker. That one's
Okay,
easy.
yes, because you're a baker, right? Okay,
Actually, yeah.
do you want to tell us about the origins of your very unique name?
Yes, I have been really fortunate to have spent almost 40 years studying with a yoga master, Ramakrishna Ananda.
Hmm.
And early on, he asked, "Do you want a spiritual name?" Which means that he would meditate on my soul and give me a name that fits my soul and what it came to do in this lifetime.
Hmm.
Of course, I said yes. And it was amazing, the name he gave me. So Anandamoy means the female aspect of God that's filled with joy or built of joy. And that was one quality I tried pushing down my entire life
Hmm.
because nobody around me had it. No one in my family really had it. People would pat me on the head and say, "Isn't she cute? Wait till she grows up and finds the world isn't a nice place." And so I was kind of always like this.
Yeah.
And so when he gave me that name and explained what it meant, it was like a cosmic joke. It was like the
Hmm.
universe chuckling and saying, "Go for it." And yeah, it's been a real blessing to have it.
I'm sure it was a life changer. So,
Total.
but of course, you can't be someone who's full of joy unless you're giving and helping others.
That is so true. That
So,
is
which
totally
brings
true.
us around to a little bit more of your origin story because you're in the process and almost finished writing this amazing book that I've had a preview of. And the book is Becoming Strong with BEE, as in does buzz buzz, be becoming strong. And I think it's an amazing book with amazing illustrations. So, do you want to
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about your book?
Yes, yes. And the illustrations, there's a wonderful woman. Her name is Akiko Martinash,
Hmm.
and she's a good friend of a wonderful young Indian astronomer friend of mine that I met when I was living on Palomar Mountain. And
Hmm.
Akiko, we worked back and forth for so long um, until we got it just right. But the book is about a little bee named Jazianzza, and
Hmm.
she has a corkscrew antenna and has to wear big glasses because she couldn't see well. And so it's her journey of becoming strong with the help of her sage queen, the queen bee, Mama Queensy bee,
Hmm.
and her oak tree friend named Tree, who the hive lives in. And so it it's a journey of learning how to become strong and kind and compassionate and connected. And yeah, it's something that I really hope can fly out around the world and really help
Hmm.
children because there's a lot of fear in the world. And
Well,
there's simple tools to help at least
mhm.
start people on that journey.
Well, I really enjoyed reading it, and
Thank you.
I was really wondering how you came up with the very creative name Tree.
Yeah, that was creative. Well, he's so towering. And like to
Hmm.
give him a name like Peter or George or
Hmm.
something. No, he is
Hmm.
Tree.
Hmm. So your main character, um, she runs into a fair bit of adversity. First,
Yes.
she doesn't realize that she doesn't see properly like all the other bees.
Yes.
And she doesn't know that something called glasses exists. And, like happens for most of us as we go through our life journey, people don't tell us that resources are available to us if
Really
you don't
true.
ask. And we don't know to ask. So she has that problem. And then because she
It's
can't
true.
see, does she run into the hive wall? Is that what corkscrewed
Yes,
her antenna?
that's right.
And so then, you know, her siblings, her little bee siblings, can be like siblings, and they gave her an awfully hard time.
Yes.
And, that hits on your self esteem. And, that I think that's sort of the way you started off your life as we were talking before.
Yes, it
And,
is.
you know, people, the other bees didn't teach her how to have self esteem. They just picked on what they perceived as her flaws instead of her uniqueness.
Right.
And then she goes out from the hive and she makes some friends. And who's the first one? Is it the butterfly?
Lida Butterfly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she sees that other things in the world are slightly different. That doesn't make them bad.
Right.
So,
That was a really important message that I wanted to share in the book, that just because we're different from someone that we meet, it doesn't mean we're better, they're worse, they're better. It's just
mhm,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really thought that was a really poignant moment in the book.
Mm.
And, you know, from there, she goes on and learns that she can talk to the Queen Mother, for lack of a better term. And the Queen Mother gives her some sage counsel 3 or 4 times, I believe,
Yes.
and gives her glasses and tells her not to worry about the antenna. It's just such a sweet book.
Thank you
And
very much.
and then I don't know if this is a spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I really like the way the book ends with her meeting her sort of biggest fear, which was the butterfly's biggest fear because she almost got mugged by a hornet. And then she has an altercation with the hornet. And, all these lessons she's gone through sets up a situation where she can turn this, almost attack by the hornets into an opportunity to make them allies.
Yes.
And
You
like
have
that's
got it. Yes.
I mean, that's such a strong message for kids.
And the only way she could rise to that occasion was by putting all the tools that Mama Queensy Bee had given her into practice, to learning how to be calm by the breathing techniques, and
Yeah.
then finding that created so much space for strength and kindness to come into her.
Hmm.
Because, when we're afraid, if we go like this, there is no space in us for anything to get in, any true perception of what we're going through. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Many of the guests I've had on the podcast, whether in the health side, mental health side, gone through adversity, most of them are advocate of learning some sort of breath control.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
And I think it's Julia Langley, who's like unbelievable. She's a professional singer and coach and author, and she sings for Cirque du Soleil. Like just an
Oh,
amazing. So we've done a couple of podcasts and I haven't published them yet on how to do presentations and how to work a crowd and body language and breathing. And it's just, if you put these tools together, like the tools you're providing in the book, it just makes you so powerful.
and it's ancient yoga. It's thousands of years old. These simple ways of breathing
Hmm.
that are so powerful. It was fun. I had lunch about a week ago with a young friend that used to work with us when I lived on Palomar Mountain at Mother's Kitchen up there. And he told me that when he was living, let's see, I think it was Washington, he was teaching skiing. And he said a lot of the little kids would be freaked out because they'd be freezing, it'd be snowing. They were in these, and they didn't, and he just taught them how to do belly breathing, just like Jazianzza. And like Mama Queensy Bee taught Jazianzza. And he said in a short amount of time, they became calm. And then the following year, other ski instructors said, how did you do that? What did you do with them? So that they could learn how to help kids. So I just think that's so wonderful.
It is. And as I mentioned before we started recording, I've taken on a teaching contract at a private boys' school. And they're, 14 and 15. And I've tried a couple of times at the beginning of class, to get them to do some belly breathing, just to try and get them to chill a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of resistance, but.
Okay. There's going to be resistance at first when they get to that age, because they think, what the heck? Just like Jazianzza, when Mama Queensy Bee had her lay down and focus on her breathing, it's like, what? I've been breathing all my life. What am I supposed to do? What's this for? But if you can assure them in some way that they are going to become stronger and more self-empowered, that's the thing. And to find the home within themselves. I think that's the thing that we just don't know. Home is within us.
Yeah. And you think this should be something that's taught to us, as children?
Totally.
Well, there's a lot of things that should be taught to us as children, but they just aren't.
Yeah.
So at this stage of your life, I'm sure people are wondering, what inspired you to write this book and in this format? Because it's an illustrated children's book.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. It was a journey. So when I was living on Palomar Mountain, a lot
Southern
of time,
California, for those of you who aren't up on your geography.
Oh, and beautiful, beautiful Palomar Mountain. It's where the Palomar Observatory is. So people haven't gone there before. It's a mile high, 5,200 feet up, and it's beautiful. It's filled with oaks and pines and beautiful night sky where you can see the stars. So anyway, I was blessed to live up there for almost 17 years. And what happened was there was a time when there were a lot of mustard plants. Do you know what they have, those yellow flowers? I think they're around the United States, and you're in Toronto, right?
Yeah, but I grew up in Winnipeg, which used to be the mustard capital of the world. Yeah.
Okay. So and then that bees love mustard plants. So what I would do at times, I would meditate outside, and what I would find is bees loved walking around the palms of my hand when I meditated. And it would tickle me, and it was just so charming. I mean, they were delightful. I didn't seek them out. I didn't say, here's my hands, come. I didn't try to grab them. I would just be sitting and meditating, and they'd come. So juxtapose that experience with, there was a time when we had a little fountain in the backyard of Mother's Kitchen. And what I saw, excuse me, over and over again, children would scream and run away when bees would come and just try to drink from the fountain. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're having such a different experience. They're running with fear, and they're going like that, which scares the bees, which bees don't want to be scared, and bees don't want to sting. I mean, contrary to what some people think, bees don't like stinging, because that's the end of their life. And they know that. In fact, just as a side thing, I have a friend who's told me that when she gets near a bush, if she gets too close, bees will come and they'll like kind of bounce off her forehead to say, hey, move back, move back. That's what bees do. They're not going to just run and sting. So anyway, I thought it would be really nice if children could learn that bees are a marvel. So in 2010, I had to have a hip replacement. I went to India for it because I saw at that time, a lot of bad hip replacements being done. And I wasn't on Medicare yet. It was going to cost a lot of money. So a good friend of mine had gone to India and found this incredible world famous doctor to do it. It was a perfect operation. So I went to India to do it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to write a children's book while I'm recovering. So I bought, what's it called? The Idiot's Guide to Writing a Children's Book.
Uh-huh.
And I took it with me, and I started writing all these little rhymey words, buzzy, wuzzy, cuzzy, luzzy, and started like that. I was going to do a cute little Dr. Seuss kind of rhymey book about bees. I thought that would be good. But then when I came back and started healing up and went back to work, I just set the book aside.
That happens with a lot of writers.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I've heard that some writers set it aside for a decade. Oh, which is actually what I did. So then in 2017, I got this really rare autoimmune disease that I almost died on Palomar because I couldn't find my next breath. So I had to retire early and come down to Orange County. And that was 2017. And then I worked on just trying to get well. And then the pandemic happened. And then I remembered about the book. And I thought, why don't I see what that's about? So I picked out all my notes and I started thinking about it. And then I wrote two therapist friends of mine, as well as a friend who is a grandmother and helping take care of her granddaughter, who is an adorable granddaughter, just charming. And I asked them all, okay, what are kids going through these days? Because I thought, I don't know, like maybe the rhymey little thing is good and maybe not. And what they all told me, okay, so this is the beginning of the pandemic, and remember how scary that was for everyone, right? So what they all told me was the same kind of thing: deep fear, anxiety, depression, bullying, meltdowns, just a lot of trauma. And in fact, when I read what they said, I burst out crying. It was just a lot to take in. And so I thought, I am not going to write some silly Dr. Seuss kind of little rhymey book about a bee that at this point, if I'm going to write anything, it has to try to really make a difference and try to address these issues. And so I asked the universe for guidance. I said, look, if you want me to write a book, you've got to make it really clear to me, okay? Because I'll do something else otherwise. And so at that time, I was driving down to Encinitas, about a little over an hour away, once a month to get these special shots for the autoimmune disease. And it happened to be like the day after I asked the universe for guidance. It was pouring rain, pouring, torrential rain. And luckily, because of the pandemic, there was hardly anybody on the freeway. And it was still raining when I got out of the car to go into the building. It was still raining and cold when I got out. Not as much rain, but still raining. So I got in my car, drove to get onto the freeway, looked in the side view mirror, Fred, there was a bee clinging to the side view mirror. In the rain, in the cold. Bees don't do that.
That's wild.
Exactly, literally.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and so then the whole way home, I'm worrying about the bee. I've already taken her away from her hive. So,
Mhm.
and it's cold, it's raining. She's either going to fall off and get hit by a car or whatever. So how much clearer of a yes, do
Mhm.
this. So that started me. And then I just sat with it, let it percolate. And at times I would write, I would write and then put it away and then meditate and then write and then look at it and think, I don't even remember writing some of this stuff. I like it,
Mhm.
but I don't remember writing it. You know how that can be?
Mhm.
So that was how it happened. And then Akiko early on, can I show the cover?
Sure.
So this is a prototype of the book. And can you see that?
Mhm.
Here she is, little Jazianzza.
With her little antenna bent up a little bit
Yep. And
and her
there is
glasses.
Light Butterfly
Mhm.
and Queen Hemazil Hornet.
Mhm.
So that was how that book came to be. And it was nothing I expected, nothing I thought was going to happen. After a while, it was kind of nothing I really wanted to do, but it was pushed through me. So I felt a real sense of obligation to honor what was happening and to try to bring some, like, just at least be a little grain in a whole sea of anxiety and trauma for children, to be a little grain of hope and
Mhm.
just a tool, so
So,
that's
and you had your own anxiety because this illness hit you out of nowhere. So, is this the illness that you lack the capacity to go above like a certain altitude because you cannot get oxygen into your system anymore?
well, that was a byproduct of it. It's interesting, it used to be called Churg-Strauss syndrome, and
Okay.
then they changed it because it was either Churg or Strauss. One of the two scientists that studied it was a Nazi, so
Uh-huh.
they changed it to EGPA, which stands for eosinophilic granulomatosis with polyangiitis. It's a
Okay.
vascular disease.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I first got it, it was heavily in my sinuses, my lungs, and my belly. I was
Hmm.
a mess. I couldn't breathe, not just up there, but down the flatlands too. When I came down here, it was, yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah,
But it's under control now to a degree.
it's under control. I'll always have it. There's no cure for it. I take there's some medicines for it, and the one thing is, it's left me with at least at this point, but this is 17, 5 years, 6 years down the line, I still have like this at times debilitating fatigue.
Yeah.
I have like maybe 60% of the energy I used to have. I used to be a
Yeah.
powerhouse of energy when I worked on Palomar and
Well,
loved it.
I think you
And
still are a powerhouse of energy.
thank you. Well, I work between in the spaces, but I'm so
Hmm.
far. I mean, I only have gratitude because so many people don't have all the tools, the
Hmm.
doctors, I'm not living in a war zone. I have lots of friends, there's so much to always be grateful for. Depends which way we want to look at it.
So I think I've got your next book sort of mapped out for you.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. It's an interview with the bee that attached itself to your car.
Oh, that's fascinating.
and what that was like for the bee and finding itself in a new location and having to find a new hive and everything that he or she goes through.
Oh, that is a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. So, so we are almost out of time. How can people get hold of you and talk to you and find your book and all those good
Yes.
things?
Okay, so the book's not out yet. Akiko still has to do a few illustration changes. So I'm hoping by the end of the year it will actually be out for be published by then. Let's see, everyone can go to my website, which is my name, Anandamayi Baker, A-N like in nickel, A-N like in nickel, D as in dog, A-M as in Mary, A-Y-I, and then the word Baker, which is easy.com. And you can see more about the book and more about bees and sign up for my newsletter there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a monthly newsletter, and that will give everybody a heads up when the book's coming out, and people will get a discount. And the newsletter it's just once a month. It's not long. It's about either bees or some kind of practical, intrinsic value techniques or whatever
Mm-hmm.
fun things for
Yoga,
children.
meditation,
Yeah,
breathing, all
yeah,
that good
things
stuff.
like that. Yeah.
Well, Anandamayi, thank you so much for reaching out to me. We
Fred.
met on a podcast event, so
Yeah, Fred, you are wonderful. You're so wonderful, and I
thank you.
can't believe you died over 20 times.
Yeah, me either.
And here you are. Well, we're definitely brought back for a purpose, and you're doing it. All the good you're
Mhm.
doing in the world. So bravo
Thank
to
you.
you.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the people in the audience, whether you're listening or viewing. And I encourage you to like and subscribe. You can find me on Spotify and YouTube and all those major platforms. And feel free to share this with a friend or someone who has kids that might be going through something. And this might be a great book that will help them. So I wish you all a wonderful week, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a great
Thanks
day.
so much.
Bye
Bye.
bye.